Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Keiko and I'm a mixed media artist and watercolor paint maker based in Hawaii. I've just finished my latest 30-day art challenge and thought this would be a good opportunity to share a few tips on how you can set up your own 30-day art challenge. This was my fifth 30-day challenge that I finished. So last year I did a small one here in this mini leporello featuring native Hawaiian plants. I also did one with native Hawaiian birds that was both in a sketchbook and on loose paper. And this year I participated in a 30-day challenge hosted by Tanya, Miss Nice Day, who also has a YouTube channel here. And it featured birds, all sorts of different birds, and for this one I made my own little journal just for the challenge. The latest one was a mixed media challenge, 30 days of very random prompts. I set this one up by asking in a poll over on my Instagram what kind of prompts my followers would like to see, and they came up with a lot of different ones. And a lot of them ended up in the challenge. So one of them was the New Zealand kakapo bird, for example. Another one was the California condor. And we had sea turtles. And apart from the 30-day challenges, I also tried a 100-day challenge, again with Tanya, Miss Nice Day. And I did finish around 80 days of it, but then quit because things. And a few years ago I actually did a 1-year 365 days challenge of doing a art journal every single day, and even though I learned a ton, it really felt like a chore towards the end. So for me personally, after doing different challenges and after finishing 5 30-day challenges, I can really say that's the sweet spot for me, 30 days. And that brings me to tip number 1. How many days? Depends. A challenge can be short or long or big or small. Naturally, you have to try it out yourself and see what works best for you. You might profit the most if you just did a 10-day challenge. Or maybe a 100-day challenge is just the right thing for you. You set up a little prompt, just 5 or 10 minutes of a simple drawing every day for 100 days. Maybe that works for you. This is really something that you have to learn by doing. But just because so many people do 100-day challenges, I know that we see this a lot, especially over on Instagram and other social media, doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. And especially if you're just starting out and trying to discover your art style, you really might want to go for a shorter challenge. Maybe just try 10 days first, and then next step, a 30-day challenge. Tip number 2, define your why. This might seem to be a very easy question because naturally we all want to get better at drawing and painting, right? But ask yourself a few more questions. Do you maybe want to be part of a community over on social media like Instagram? And don't frown upon that. It's totally legit. Because having an art community like that follows what you do and looks at your art and gives feedback and comments will also give you some more accountability during the challenge. Especially if you can find a few more people to participate in the same challenge as you do. Or maybe you've been drawing and painting for a while, but not really with a sense of direction, and a lot of the days you don't even know what to draw. Or maybe you would like to try a new style or a new medium, new art supplies. And in my opinion, a 30-day challenge is just the perfect amount of time to jump back into art if you've been away from a while, or to try out a new style or a new art medium. Number 3, accountability. I know I've just mentioned that, but I really want to emphasize that if you tell your friends in real life or even on social media that you want to go through with this challenge, I really think that it'll be easier for you to stick with it. especially if you find other people to do the challenge with you. If you do the challenge on social media, why not come up with your own hashtag? So that after a while you can actually look up the hashtag and then you'll have a gallery of your paintings and drawings under that hashtag. And if your friends participate, even more fun. You have a gallery of yours and your friends' artworks. Tip number 4, best time. You can start a challenge anytime, even in the middle of a month. But I think for us humans, it's easier somehow to start a new challenge with the beginning of a new month or even the beginning of a new year. But by all means, if you want to start and jump in right now, please go ahead. But, and that brings me to tip number 5, planning ahead. Planning ahead could be a huge factor in successfully finishing your challenge. And by that I mean, write down the theme and the prompts and the color palette you're going to use, the sketchbook, so all these things. And also look at your calendar. What do you have planned for that month? Do you already know that there are some big events like family birthdays, for example, where you're very likely to be super busy? And for those days, you can either skip them, turn your 30-day challenge into a 20 or 25-day challenge, or you could really make sure that you have just 5 or 10 minutes on that day. Do a quick sketch, quick pencil sketch, and finish that later when you have the time. Maybe you have more time 2 days later and then you can finish that one that you skipped. Or you could do 2 prompts on one day. I don't think that's cheating, actually. I mean, the ideal would be that you have time every single day, an hour or so, to finish a prompt, but we all know life gets in the way. So if you can think ahead and know what days are going to be super busy and plan around them and with them, you're going to be more likely to finish your challenge. And talking about quick sketches when you don't really have the time brings me to tip number 6. Keep it simple. And by simple, I mean as simple as necessary for you to be able to finish the challenge. So this could mean that you really just take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day and you do a quick pencil sketch. But you try and do it for 30 days, even if it's just a simple prompt. And kind of as another tip that is both part of tip number 5 and 6 would be to prepare your toolbox. So have some kind of a box where you put your sketchbook in and the art materials you want to use. If you're using a limited color palette, just have all the art supplies that you use ready to go in a box or a bag, for example. And then you could even take the bag with you if you need to go somewhere. And if you have those 10, 15, 30 minutes, you could sit down because you have your bag ready with all your supplies for the challenge. Tip number 7, find the balance. Keeping it simple doesn't mean that you shouldn't put much effort into your challenge. So for me personally, I had to find the right balance between pushing myself, discipline to sit down and draw every day, but also being realistic with the things I can do every day, the amount of time I have, with the art supplies that I have, but, and most importantly, to also have fun with it. That's the ultimate goal. You sit down, you create, and you have fun doing it, so you don't end up with creative block and not wanting to continue the challenge. And all the tips I'm giving you today is to set you up for success. Tip number 8, work with a sketchbook. So that's very personal for me from my experience with the bird challenge I did last year, where I used both loose sheets of paper and a sketchbook. It felt somewhat unfinished, even though I did all the 30 prompts in 30 days. But for some reason, having all my prompts together, assembled in a sketchbook, makes it feel more finished for me. So in the future, I will do all my challenges in a designated sketchbook. Number 9, work with a theme. For me, the best way to stay interested in a challenge is to set certain limitations. A sketchbook is already such a limitation, more of a physical one, and finding a theme that pulls all of the prompts together is another good way to work in a challenge. So you could do 30 birds, you could do more specifically 30 forest birds that are native to your region, for example, or 30 household items, birth month, flowers, even though they're only 12 months. But 12 months brings me to that point when you're done with the challenge and you have 30 paintings or drawings. You could choose the 12 best and make a calendar, for example. Just an idea. Number 10, limited color palette. Another limitation that works very well for me is to work with a limited color palette. So I usually choose between 4 and 8 colors and try to stick to them throughout the challenge. I find that having a theme and the prompts and the sketchbook and the colors ready to go makes it easier for me to actually sit down and paint. I don't have to think about which color should I use today, what theme, what prompt. It's all already there. If you have more tips, please let me and everybody else know in the comments down below. And before I jump into my next challenge, I would love to invite you to participate as well. I will be hosting another mixed media challenge over on my Instagram account, the Aloha Studios. The theme will be ocean vibes in the widest sense. So just to name a few of the prompts: unicorn fish, ocean sunset, trident, vintage deep sea diving suit, your favorite ocean animal, luminescence, shark silhouette. So have a look down in the caption to see the prompts and to see if that is maybe something you'd like to join in. Hope to see you there. Until then, happy creating and aloha! So how do you count? Like 2, 2, 2? Let me know in the comments.